You can't out-earn a spending problem. Money makes the world go round, and not in a bad way. We spend so much time trying to earn it, going to school, getting an education, networking, and then we get the dollar. And then it's just kind of like, oh, well, I'm not good with money. What a tragedy. The awareness is the key. You have finite resources here. Find a pace that has you paying off debt and going to Disneyland and living it up at Christmas and eating out.
So I want to talk to you about how you started YNAB, and I was literally just like holding it in because I wanted to really get it on air because your background is interesting. You were a newlywed with a kid on the way
Mhm.
and like not exactly like a huge income, right?
No, not at
So
all.
I want to dive into how that even started.
Yeah. So Julie and I got married young. I think
Uh-huh.
I was 20, just turned 22.
Wow.
And she was making $10 an hour. I was making $10 an hour. We had 3 years of school left for me. She graduated a few months after we got married, but
Hmm.
then her full-time graduate of college job paid $11 an hour. So,
Big jump.
yeah. So she had studied social work. That's not known for being super lucrative.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we were just staring at a tight income and years of waiting until I could get my real job as an accountant. But it worked. Like we started, just doing our thing. And then it was when we decided to have a baby
Hmm.
and she wanted to be able to just step out of the workforce. She was earning the lion's share of the money. That was where I was like, I got to figure out a different way to
Hmm.
like at least get us through school. I didn't want to borrow money for school. And so I had built literally a spreadsheet for Julie and me to use to manage our meager income, and it had worked well. We truly had an income problem, but the the gist of it was I just thought, well, maybe people would want to use this spreadsheet. And this was in '04, so it was like before phones, before a lot of the tech.
Hmm.
So I literally just launched it like, hey, buy this spreadsheet, and it's helped us, and it could help you. And that was when that was how we took off.
So then how did it transform into an app? Because it was a spreadsheet, and how do you go from that to app? Because one of the things that I really love about YNAB is your user interface is really nice.
Yeah.
Like it's very user friendly. I love the little emojis that you
Mhm.
have coinciding with every like bucket. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a really well done app.
Yeah, I mean, it's we abandoned the spreadsheet about a year and a half in, and
Okay.
I found, my now business partner, Taylor, who
Mhm.
he's like, "Hey, I could improve this," and I said, "Let's do real software." And real software back then was still something you download, you paste in a license key, and all of that. And we
Come a long
ran with
way.
yeah, we ran that for, years, and then the phones came on the scene, and of course, I was like, nobody would ever wanna manage their money from their phone. I mean, who would do that, And so we watched that change and ended up building phone apps to be a companion app, and then you just keep taking the tech as it comes
Mhm.
and seeing what's available and what the market's demanding for you.
So I want to talk about money mindset for a second because back when you were in the spreadsheet, you created this spreadsheet. How did your money mindset kind of evolve over time? And did you find that kind of having that system empowered you and kind of took that stress away a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's always gonna be stress if you're alive, right? So when someone says like, "Oh, I'll eliminate your stress," we eliminate the stress associated with spending. But you're gonna have other stresses in life. You're
Hmm.
raising a kid, you're in a relationship, whatever it may be. But as far as our money stress went, even being on such a small income, we were remarkably content, and we weren't timing bills to paychecks. We weren't sitting there waiting for money to arrive, and we had this pile of bills that needed to be handled. I mean, we were earning very little, but we were making it work. And it goes back to not really the spreadsheet, but the method that we were using was the transformative piece. And since then, like the tool itself has changed from spreadsheet to app to web app, and who knows what it'll be next.
Hmm.
But what it has you do, where you're giving every dollar a job, where you're being intentional, that's the secret sauce.
Can you explain what that means? Like, what does it mean to give every dollar a job, and why is that so important?
It's really a practice. I mean, it's like someone saying, they have a practice where they meditate or where they do yoga or where they strength train or whatever it may be. giving every dollar is just a practice with your money. And we've broken it down into 5 distinct questions, like almost where we would almost want you to like use them verbatim. Every word in the question is critical.
Mhm.
But when we walk people through or introduce the practice of giving every dollar a job, what we're really saying is, hey, here are these 5 questions. And when you have money, work through the questions. And when you get more money, work through these questions again. And when things change, work through the questions again. And the questions are really just a way of walking your mind through how to think about the money. And so in a way, we talk about a mindset, but these questions are setting your mind appropriately so that you answer, I don't want to say correctly, but I think I'll say correctly, so that you come to the correct decision. We're really trying to have people make better spending decisions. And I don't mean better like, oh, I can't believe that, he or she bought this or that. I mean better in that your spending is really aligned with who you are and it allows you to reach your goals.
And what are the questions?
So the first question, it's always the first question, and it's when you have, say, 4 grand, 5 grand in your checking account. The question is, what does this money need to do before you're paid again?
Mm.
We're eliminating, like you probably have a variable income because you run businesses, right? A lot of people, they have side hustles or whatever. Income is wildly variable, and what we do with this question is we ground you in reality. It's like we can't, we're not yet to like self-actualizing or creating something new. We're like, we gotta first get rooted. So what do you want this money to do before you're paid again? Root you in reality. And it doesn't allow you to say, oh wait, but Jesse, I'll earn, I've got this check coming in, or this client said they would pay me Friday, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
This money you have on hand right now, we're constraining and we're using scarcity in the only way that it's useful, in the sense that we're saying you have finite resources here. Allocate them appropriately, and you need to feel when you choose to do A, you can't do B. A lot of us just skip past that, and we just think, "Oh, okay, well, I mean, we, like, do mental math, and we
Mhm.
spend the money 3 different ways in our minds, and we never really let ourselves feel like, "Oh, I'm out of money, like, what I'm choosing here means I can't do this over there." So the first question roots you in reality. The second question, we're talking about asking ourselves, what large or less frequent expenses do I need to prepare for? So when it's like future you and current you are sitting here and you both are like, well, I'm going to go out tonight. And it's like, okay, well, also, I'm going to be on the side of a road with the car broken down. It's like, oh, okay, we don't want that. And so you're negotiating, or it's like, hey, future you's like, I want to be able to go on a vacation, or I want to celebrate Christmas without stressing about money, or I've got a big tax bill due, any number of things. And current you is like, well, what about me right now? And it's this
Mhm.
balancing of tension between like enjoying the now and also like acknowledging you need to be prepared for the future.
The bucket that I think of from the app is the things I forgot to buy
Oh,
bucket,
absolutely.
which I feel like falls into that because you always inherently have something that
Yes.
pops up, and you're right that, like, these, like, expenses that may come up, you kinda have to, like you think there's nothing, but
Mhm.
there's always
Always
something.
something. Yeah, and we demand, for some reason, when someone's like, "I'm gonna get better with my money," like, they feel this resolve, and then they make this beautiful plan, and maybe they're using YNAB, and so they've got, like, emojis, and it just looks great, and then whatever happens, and then they like, I don't know, something comes up, friends, like, text you, and they're like, "Hey, we're in town, do you wanna go out?" And you're like, "Oh, I didn't plan to go out," and they like to go to expensive places, shoot, like, what do I do here? Like, you didn't know that your friends were gonna come in unannounced, like, you don't know that the car is gonna break down. You So you have to just kind of give yourself a little bit of grace in that
Mhm.
and just recognize. So we do build that in as like a default category. It's like, hey, you're gonna forget stuff, especially when you're first starting. You
Mhm.
really are just trying to kind of get your arms around it. And our fifth question, to kind of skip ahead a little bit,
Mhm.
but we ask, I mean, it's a forced question where we say, what changes, if any, do you need to make? And it's just acknowledging like it might not be anything bad that happens. It literally might just be that you just have a different whim and you're just like, I'm gonna do this instead, and that's
Mhm.
totally okay also.
And
Flexibility is part of it.
yeah, I agree for sure. And what are the 3rd and 4th questions?
So the third question is, pretty unique to what we teach, but you're asking yourself, "How much could I set aside for next month?" And what we're trying to do is build some space between you and when you need money. And what we're doing is essentially wanting people, and this takes a little while, usually about 6 months for people to get there, but we're getting to where, like, you're at the beginning of August or whatever,
Mhm.
and you are fully funded for August. Like,
Mhm.
all of August's needs are met, and you haven't earned any money yet in August.
Mhm.
So, we get to where you can start to kind of throw money toward that future month and give yourself some breathing room. A lot of times when people are like, "Oh, man," talking about this with my spouse or partner, like, money's always so loaded. One of the reasons it's so loaded is we tend to live so close to the edge, and so it's just this naturally stressful spot. It would be like if you and I were on, like, a hike, and we're, like, on this ledge, and we would both just be a little more amped up, and, like, I would speak to you, like, a little more forcefully, like, curtly even, like, because 'cause we're not messing around. But with money, it's like you could say something mundane like, "Oh, you went shopping today," and it can be like, "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" And it, like,
Mhm.
becomes this loaded thing. We try and get people away from that in their relationships or even just in their own self-talk around, like, money being this source of just stress
Yeah.
instead of enjoyment. So that third question of being able to say, "Well, what do I wanna send to the next month?"
Mhm.
It's just a way to start to break that stressful paycheck to paycheck cycle. The fourth question is maybe my favorite, but we have you ask, "What goals, large or small, should I prioritize?"
Mhm.
And a lot of times we call this the creation question, but it's really like you're based in reality, you're preparing for the future, so you're starting to establish some stability, and then because you're funding the future month, you're starting to get some resilience, like you can handle different things that come your way. And now that you've got reality, stability, resilience, now it's like, okay, well, what do you want to create?
Mhm.
Like, what do you want money to do for you? And that's where it gets fun because as somewhere along the way, adults lose their ability to like even imagine with money. Like what could it do? It's just like, well, it stresses me out. It causes fights. Like there's never enough.
I do think though, that like a lot of stress around money can be alleviated by understanding what you're even doing with it.
Oh
Because
gosh, yeah.
I remember when I was younger, like early 20s, and I had no financial literacy, something that would stress me out just like, kind of like subconsciously is I would never know what I'm actually doing with my money. And
Mhm.
I would be like too scared to look at my it was like this like
Yes.
big scary thing.
Mhm.
And so I think having the facts in front of you, I think just that in itself is such a large empowering step and just becoming comfortable with knowing where your money is going.
Absolutely. Yeah, you acknowledge reality first and foremost. Like when someone says like I'm just going to earn my way out. I'm so excited about earning money. Like earning money is very fun,
Yeah.
very creative and fantastic. But I have seen way too many people that are in absolutely stressful situations and they earn loads of money. Like stress is the universal thing regardless of your income level.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more because I don't think that you can out earn money, like lack of money literacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter if you're earning like 20,000 or 200,000 if you've not built like the foundational practices of understanding how money works and as you're saying question number 1 rooting
Mhm.
yourself to reality, you will never be in a better place and you'll
Absolutely.
think the answer is earning more money but it's actually not.
Yeah, yeah, because you can't out earn a spending problem. I don't like to say spending problem a lot of times because there's so much shame and guilt associated with spending, and it's
Mhm.
a tragedy. But when I say problem, I mean where, you, like the known you, the real you, and your spending are misaligned.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not even that someone can be spending frivolously. Sometimes it's just like careless things.
Yeah,
Like you have a subscription to something you've not used like for many, many months, or
yeah,
like, and if you don't look, and if you don't, if you're not curious, and you don't, and like if you just don't look, then
yeah.
how will you ever know?
Yeah, you've gotta know what's going on first. There's I we're so averse to telling people how to spend that when someone says like, "Well, what's a frivolous, example?"
Mhm.
I don't say.
Yeah.
Or like, "What's a waste of money?" I
I
won't
actually
say.
agree with that because
Yeah,
I don't think anything is a waste of money. I think it just depends on what your priorities are,
exactly. Yeah, well put. Yeah.
So I think people value different things, like for example, I can think I don't know, like camping is a waste of money because
Mm,
I don't like to camp.
right.
And someone else might think me buying shoes is a way, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
but it's just, I guess, what's important to you. And I think so when I first started to get like really like interested in finances, I read this book actually where I heard about you guys is from this book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich
Oh,
by
yeah, with
Ramit,
Ramit.
right? So
Yeah,
like he talked about you guys.
yeah.
And that's when I was like, wow, this is like an amazing app. So there he talks about like, I guess like what's your rich life? And I
Yes.
feel like that's what this is, right?
Yeah.
Like on like what's important to you.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not the same for me and you, you
It
know?
really isn't. Sometimes you can use some shortcuts. You can be like, "Oh, this guy and I, we're fairly similar, so I
Mhm.
could look to him to kind of get some clues on what I also might resonate with." But that starts to get kind of boring pretty quickly. Like
Totally.
as you really examine your spending and you give every dollar a job, the practice itself will reveal more of you to you because you'll be feeling those trade-offs. Like if I do this, I can't do that. And you'll be getting the best thing about scarcity, which is clarity. Like if I mean, this is a little bit morbid, but when someone finds out they have a limited time to live, you see their priorities suddenly just become crystal clear. And it's that's what you want to feel with your money. You want to
Mm.
feel like this is a limited resource, a precious limited resource. What do I want to do with it? And we're kind of conditioned to feel like it's limitless. We're conditioned to think you'll either earn more or you can just put a little bit on the card just this one time and that you can kind of walk past that idea of zero of running out. And so you lose out on the chance to get the clarity of being like this is all there is.
Mhm.
What will I do with it?
Yeah.
And when someone gets that clarity um in life, like, wow, my kid's growing up, like, this is my one shot. You start to feel like they know themselves more through that clarity, and then they act, in more in congruence with what they've learned.
So I want to talk to you about, the guilt that people have
Yeah,
sometimes about spending money. What is the best way to kind of work through that? Because like how do you grow from that? Because
yeah,
that's a very difficult way to be living your entire life where, anytime you want to buy something you
horrible.
feel guilty. It's I
Yeah,
mean, it just weighs on you.
yeah, yeah, and the tragedy is far, far worse than that even. Like, you spend I mean, you, I, we all, everyone spends so much time trying to earn money.
Mm.
And we're also told, like, that earning money's gross, at times, or like, "Oh, well, of course it's not about the money," and you're like, "Well, it is about the
Sometimes it
money."
is.
Like, you're buying groceries or whatever, like, you have shelter, like, it really is about the money. Anyone that says otherwise, just take away most of it and see if they kind of change their tune a little bit. So, it really is about the money. Money makes the world go round, and not in a bad way. Like, it's the way that we exchange value back and forth.
Totally.
It's how we can choose. It's how we express ourselves in the world. And so
And
we
also the stigma that some people attach to it. I'm like, listen, like, let's root ourselves in reality.
yeah.
Like, money can also be an incredibly empowering tool. You can use it to change lives,
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. It's agnostic. It really the best definition I've found so far for money is its next use. And so you and I are both sitting with 10 grand in our checking accounts or whatever, and it's like, well, what is money to you? Well, it's not 10 grand. It's actually whatever I'm going like maybe after this I'll go get some sushi because I'm here in the area and like it's sushi for me and you're like, "Oh, for me, like I'm going to do a bathroom renovation." So it's going to be that. Like it's whatever it's gonna be used for
mm,
next, and no judgment attached to it. But the tragedy of it is we spend so much time even if we think it's dirty or icky, which I disagree with on its face, but we spend so much time trying to earn it. And then, I mean, you're talking about, like, going to school, getting an education, networking, like, working for a boss you don't really care for, missing out on dinners with family, like, working late nights, name your things. All of that sacrifice and then we get the dollar, and then it's just kinda like, "Oh, well, I'm not good with money." I mean, what a tragedy. So, if I can just have people and be like, "You are so smart and able and motivated and driven and intentional when it comes to earning money. All I want is just, like, a sliver of that to
mhm.
transfer over into how you spend your money." And then the guilt will wash away instantly when you start to ask yourself, "What do I want this money to do. It's just about being proactive and choosing what you want your money to do instead of reacting to things just as they come. I mean, you know this in business. Like if all you did in business was just react to every email that came your way, you it would go under. Like you have to be an agent. You have to act. You have to affect things. And
Mhm.
we want our money to be a power for that. If you can start to see your money more as a little representation of you, not like, oh, okay, Sif's like she's only money. Like you're not. I'm not like relegating someone's value to money, but I'm just saying if you can see like all of your effort rolling up into like, okay, I earned this.
Mhm.
That's like all of your life experience, all of your lived experience that rolled up into like you got paid.
Mm.
And if you could take that and then say, well, how do I want to spend that? To me, that's like a very high functioning, high level form of self respect,
Yeah.
of self care.
So this mentality that I'm bad with money mentality.
I hate it.
Why does everyone default, or not everyone, but there's a lot of people who default have this, and it's really interesting because I went through this as well
Yeah.
for like so many years of my life where I was like, "Oh, I'm just bad with money." And then one day I was like, "What are you like literally what are you saying?"
Yeah.
It was like I've like built a business, like
Yeah.
how I like do everything on my own. Like how can I say I'm bad with money?
Yeah.
Like it's such a false
What
thing
made
that we
you
tell
what
ourselves.
did you do that made you feel like you don't have to say you're bad anymore?
Well, because I'm someone who, if I'm bad at something, inherently, I'm like,
You're gonna fix it.
I'm gonna fix it,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's just always a challenge. And for some reason, money was like one of these things where, um, it was like, oh, I'm bad at it, so like, someone else will do it, So
I
like
see.
my husband will do it, my finance team will do it, like la di da,
Yeah.
But fact is that, and I told myself that because I was bad at math in school,
Oh
but
gosh.
I
Yeah.
think those 2 are not related
They're not at
issues.
all.
So I was like, why can't I just get curious and start to learn? And now it's like so easy and fun for me. And so I think a lot of people have this thought that maybe they were bad in math at school,
Yeah.
and they're like not linked.
They probably had some lame teacher that was like, "Oh, oh, you're not very good at math," and like that stuck with them because they're in 3rd grade or whatever. I
Yeah.
hate that kind of thing. But the I'm bad with money, um, I think probably could be boiled down to an experience a lot of people have where it's like you're earning good money and like
Mhm.
you can prove it, you can see it, and then you're like, why aren't I not feeling better? Like I don't feel like I've achieved yet, and it would be it's just incongruous where you're like, I make an adult amount of money. We have people write in, this is almost a quote. I make an adult amount of money and have nothing to show for it. And so they're like, I just must be bad with it. What the problem that we eliminate though, that we really take care of is something that's probably a little more pernicious than that. And it's an always on um, second guessing that just
Mm.
rolls in the back of everyone's mind. And what they're doing is when they spend on something small, like is a coffee, or they spend on something big, like a big trip, the entire time, big or small purchase, they just have this constant nagging of like, can I afford this? Should I have bought this? Am I being responsible? Is this what I'm supposed to do? I mean, and it's it's so subconscious and so subversive to enjoying your spending, but it is always there. And when we give every dollar a job, that practice, the whole point of it is to eliminate second guessing. Where when you say, hey, Jesse, let's go out, and I'm like, oh man, Sif's like, she's a high roller, it's gonna be expensive, then I just go out and I enjoy it. And like, you actually enjoy the thing instead of having the spending on the thing taint the entire experience. So like you need to go on vacation and and really enjoy the vacation. Instead, people half the time or like literally Christmas morning. I mean, you have a lot of kids. So it's like Christmas morning, you're supposed to kind of enjoy like this magic that you've created as a parent. It's a
Totally.
very cool thing. And then to feel like the entire time that I'm watching my kids have this magical moment that I have this in the back of my mind, like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. I hope this is okay. It ruins it, it wrecks it, and it also wrecks just, like, going and buying a coffee. Like,
Yeah,
it's a horrific way to go about, enjoying the fruits of your labor, and so you
totally.
think all the time we spend I mean, people work 70, 80 hours a week, and then you can't even enjoy what you've gotten from it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just awful. So you give every dollar a job, you work the 5 questions, that second guessing voice just gets quieter and quiet. And it's not like there's no buyer's remorse. That's not the same thing. It's this ever-present nagging
Mhm.
that will be quiet. And from there, people can start to get really clear like, "Huh, okay, now I don't have that noise." And they'll start to get some pretty strong signal like, "I wanna pay off my debt," or, "I wanna start investing." And then they naturally have to learn the mechanics of that and stuff, but none of that's rocket science by any stretch.
I couldn't agree more. So, if someone is completely overwhelmed by their financial situation, are there things that they can do, like small habits, like that they can have on a day to day or weekly basis that you recommend for them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep pointing back to the, give every dollar a job, that practice. But the thing that I would coach, if someone's really living on the edge, they're very stressed, we would start them with question one: what does this money need to do? And we have experiences where people have $300 in their checking account, payday's not for 5 days.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is they are extremely stressed, and rightly so. And then you have them work that question, and they assign those $300, and it's like, okay, the gas tank needs some gas, needs some money for food, and then it's like, what about this electric bill? That'll have to wait. And they have a plan, and that plan eliminates their stress. Now, are they home free? Not by any stretch, but they are taking action. They
Mhm.
are they are affecting something instead of just hemming and hawing, turning a blind eye, and waiting for the world to happen to them. And so we are giving them, we're empowering them. And we've had people say literally after a 30-minute phone call, they're just like, I feel so much better. And all you had to do was make a very small, simple plan, but they were able to take action. And it makes all the difference. Now, when that paycheck comes on Friday, and then they've got a bigger pile, we'll say, okay, what does that money need to do? And we'll start coaching them about the future. What larger or less frequent expenses do we need to prepare for? Suddenly, the decisions they're making today are also taking into account their future you.
Mhm.
And they're starting to not spend on things that they would have otherwise thought they could because the bank balance says, "Oh, well, here's how much money you have." Anyone that makes any spend, I'll just say this. Here's one I'll just address straight up. If you ever make a spending decision, can I afford this or that? By looking at your bank balance, that's you gotta stop. That balance is a liar. It doesn't tell you anything except how much money is in the account. And so if you are sitting there and you're like, you mentioned shoes earlier. Can I buy these shoes? And you look at your bank account balance to figure out if you can. We can't. We got to stop doing that. The way you figure out whether you can buy the shoes is you look in your shoe category and you say, is there money there? And if there is, you buy them, you love them, you don't second guess, no guilt, no shame. And I don't care if you have 400, 500 other pairs of shoes and you have a whole lighting system for them on your wall. Like you get those shoes, you own them, you have them the way you want them. It's perfect. But if there's no more money in that shoe category, we'll let it sit. We'll fund that one later. That habit, though, of starting to consider the future and the now at the same time, that's where the magic starts to happen.
Okay, so, I feel like money is sometimes parallel to health, okay?
Oh
So
gosh, yeah,
say someone has decided like, "Okay, I'm going on this journey," and then they're like, "Money diet, I'm not gonna spend
yeah.
anything." Okay, why is that not sustainable, and what would you recommend instead?
Like a diet where you don't eat is also not sustainable, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the okay, every once in a while, someone will be like, "I'm just gonna go on, like, a big spending cut," and
Mhm.
we'll even do this, like, once a year as a company on social or whatever, we'll say, "Hey, we're gonna do, like, the more money challenge," and it's like a
Yeah.
30-day
Yeah,
obnoxious
like a
sprint.
no spend whatever month.
Exactly,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that's like I think a detox sometimes is fine.
A detox is that's a great way of phrasing it. I'm gonna steal that because a detox is an acknowledged stop to the crazy,
Yeah,
you know? And it's a way for you to kind of turn a knob up where you're like, "I know this isn't sustainable, but what will I learn in this unsustainable window of time?"
totally.
And it can be totally okay. And that's fine. It can be instructive. But what we're looking for is something that you can do over, I mean, forever.
Mhm.
And so what we want people to do is implement the practice of giving every dollar a job. And like, let's say they have 80 grand in debt, and it's not the good kind of debt. And by good kind, I mean a house.
Mhm.
And they're just like, "Oh, I can't even start with this. I've just got to go after it." And they're aggressive with their debt, and every extra dollar they scrape together, they put toward their debt. What happens is they end up with, I don't know, a tax bill that's due. Maybe they're a freelancer and they're like, that's a little bit tricky to manage a lot of the time. Or a property tax bill comes due, or a kid breaks an arm and has to go to the ER. Name your thing. Then they feel bad because they've got to put it on the card. They don't have anywhere to go with it. And they feel like, oh, here I am going backward. And what we really want people to do is just find a sustainable pace where goals are being reached. Like if you and I were to do like a business coaching call and you're like, Jesse, I'm going to 10x my business. I'd be like, okay. Oh, like I would try and rein you in a little bit. Like we don't want to get over our skis.
Mhm.
And when people go really kind of crazy on like getting out of debt, no spending, you end up that they just kind of swing back and forth and it like the yo-yo dieting thing. And it's I want something that they'll stick with forever where they're just like, I am living my best life. I'm earning money. I didn't even get a raise, but like things are just clicking. Like I could do this forever. I was coaching my daughter Rose. She was going to run the mile. And back in the day, it was like if you're running the mile in PE, that was a big deal. And she was telling me how she would run and then have to walk for a while. And I was like, try and find the pace at the beginning where you could run the whole time and where you don't stop. And she's like, oh, Dad, I always have to stop. But I kind of walked her through it, like, find the pace where you were like, I could do this for a while.
Mhm.
And she comes home from school. She was so excited that she had ran she'd run the whole thing and she was faster than she thought she would be, even though she started out slower. And I feel like so much of the time there's a lesson there of like, if you'll just make small little changes, but you're like, I could do this literally for the rest of my life, you will be so far ahead of the person that just sprints and falls and sprints and falls. So please find a pace that has you paying off debt and going to Disneyland and living it up at Christmas and eating out. Like I'm telling you that now there's that one guy that's like, I actually enjoy getting out of debt so much that I'm just gonna it's like, okay, cool. But like for
You
the
do you.
yes, but for the vast majority of people, like you're allowed to keep living life while you hit some of these goals that you're so anxious to shed because you feel shame associated with them. You don't want that debt there anymore. I totally get it. But just like you're allowed to still live and make progress on it.
I love that, and I do think that, a lot of people feel a lot of stigma when they do
Totally.
when they and it's not an easy thing to have debt. Like, I
No, no.
understand it, like, weighs heavy on
Yeah.
people, but I think it's the same as, having a goal around health, even if it may feel like you really want to get there today, right? Like, you wanna get healthy today.
Absolutely.
Like, in order for the habits to stick and just become the type of person who is, like, inherently healthy, you have to take certain steps, and I think, like, someone who is good with money, right?
Mhm.
Like, that ideal person,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's a culmination of habits and things that you do on a day-to-day basis that actually make you that person as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if someone was they were just saying, "Well, what habit should I do?" It's like, if you're using YNAB or whatever app you're using,
Mhm.
just be in it every day. Just raise your awareness of it every day. I mean, it'd be like someone starting out trying to eat a little better. It's like, take photos of what you eat, and don't certainly don't post them anywhere.
Yeah,
Just own them for yourself. Like, just literally, like, you're just upping the awareness,
totally.
and that's what we're doing here. We're just upping the awareness of your spending and up in the awareness of where you want your spending to go. And the awareness is the key. That'll we call it living spendfully. It's like mindful spending. It's like you're enjoying the moment of it. You're present with it, but you're not obsessing over it.
Yeah, I love that. It's a really nice way to look
Yeah.
at it. So I want to get your advice on someone who is trying to approach a financial goal, like a goal
Mhm.
setting exercise for like maybe they have a wedding coming or
Yeah.
they want to go on a trip or whatever it is. How should they approach that?
I mean, first, like no money involved. Like just kind of start to paint, like vision board it, describe it, write a journal entry from the day that it happens in the future as if it happened that
Oh, I
day.
love that.
Like
Yeah.
just really like get it tight, like make it emotional. And that clarity, like people will sometimes go so quick to like, here's how I fund it. But like writing the journal entry, or I mean, Amazon does this with press releases for features. Like that's kind of how they frame what it will look like. There are a lot of different tactics you can do, but I've found the future journal entry to be really useful. Paint the picture. There are two reasons to do it. One is clarity on what you want, And two is clarity on what you don't want. And so many
Mhm.
times, like a wedding would be a classic example. You have so many ideas, or maybe I'm speaking from someone that doesn't understand that very well, but usually the bride would have so many ideas of like what this ideal day would look like. But a lot of it's just kind of been like, they just kind of picked up here and there. Like, have they ever really like sat with themselves and figured that out? And so do that, and you'll be surprised how often all of the givens that come with a wedding would be a great example, are not they're not necessarily a given for you.
Mhm.
You might decide that you want it far smaller. You might decide that you want it in this different venue. You might decide that it doesn't need to have this or that trapping, whatever it may be. Um, and then you also might decide, I'm gonna make sure that I just double down on the photography or the dress. I'm
Mhm.
way out of my league here, Sif, but that idea of being really clear on what you want and not what necessarily is just kind of attached to it.
Mhm.
Um, that is all not money related. That's
Yeah.
just you sitting there like pen and paper working it out. And then you do need to start pricing it out. If I were doing a wedding specifically, I would probably make a category group in YNAB. That's a, a group of many categories, and I would try and be pretty, almost like if you and I were doing a business plan, like we would be pretty secure on like this line item, this line item. We
Mhm.
wouldn't just be like, ah, we need $3 million. Like any investor would be like, Try again,"
Yeah,
you know? So
100%.
we'd be very clear on like venue, food, drink, dress, photography, on and on and on. And when you're the more granular you become, the more that scarcity gets introduced, and we want it. We want it here because that scarcity would walk into your wedding planning and be like, "Well, if you do that here, you can't do that here." And you just start to feel like what matters most to me. And the money is exposes like what matters most. And most people know you can't have it all. We're comfortable with that, even though our behavior with money tends to kind of show that we're not. But as you are more granular in your wedding planning, really assigning dollar values to it, it starts to get more real. You're always rooted in that journal entry, that kind of manifestation that you have there. Then when the money starts to get pretty granular, pretty firm, at that point, you then start to say, okay, how does this goal, this pretty firm goal, how does this tug on the rest of my money priorities? Like,
Mhm.
is this going to affect other big goals I have? Does it matter? Do I want to sacrifice these goals for a while? Maybe you do. But the one thing that we tend to not do is notice how like the wedding plan pulls on everything else. Someone does a kitchen reno, someone does this or that thing, a big vacation. It's all the same thing. It's just like, well, you can't consider that thing in isolation. You got to see how the rest of it is affected by it. And so what you're doing is you're starting out with like ideal descriptive dream, granular money for that thing, and then, okay, how is this starting to pull on everything else? And it's got to work. It's got to work in reality. You've got to be clear, like this is what you really want. But the exercise will be really, really helpful. And also, if you're doing this with the person you're marrying, since we're going with wedding, that that exercise alone will avoid a lot of emotional, misfires later on as we get kind of more toward the actual deadline. I mean, having the couple sit down and be like, "Well, wait, what do we really want here?" I mean, those discussions either happen now when it's not emotionally charged, or they'll blow up and happen at some point later.
I love the part about even just getting clear about what you want, and honestly, it translates to everything, like, even if you
Yes.
think about a vacation, right, there's so many elements to that, right? It's like, okay, like, do you value the super nice hotel, or
Mhm.
do you value, eating at, like, all of these places or unique experiences, or, like, what is it,
Yeah.
Because vacation can mean many things to many people,
Yeah.
so I think getting clear about what it is that matters to you just makes this whole exercise so much better.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, we noticed as a family, we have 7 kids, and we noticed that we were like, "Oh, a big thing that matters for us is the place we stay." We
Totally.
want it to be big enough that we feel like we can kind of spread out a little bit,
Mhm.
and that means like, that literally dictates, like, what types of hotels we stay at, where we go. Julie and I just realized, like, "Oh, that's a big deal." Like, we wanna be able to, like, we stayed in this great place in London. You'd be out in the city. It was such a fantastic trip, but to be able to go back to this place that we loved and just kinda be like, "Oh, this is our space in this busy, crazy city," we loved it, and that who would have thought that that was such a big deal to us? We thought it was the different tourist spots or whatever. It's like, no, it ends up being, where you're laying your head down at night with your kids.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
like, it's really interesting when you discover that, you're like, "Oh, like, maybe it wasn't that thing that was important to your friend." It's, like, actually,
exactly.
like, when you get granular, same thing with the wedding, like, maybe the DJ is really important to you and the flowers
Exactly.
matter a little bit less or
Mhm.
vice versa, you know?
Absolutely, and you wouldn't read it in a brochure necessarily. A really good wedding planner would be able to, like, pull that out of you,
Mhm.
but they're also incentivized to have it be as big and grand as possible.
Yeah.
Like, a realtor's incentivized to have you buy or sell a house, so,
Mhm.
like, you have to kind of recognize, like, what the incentive is for where you're getting the advice, but sometimes just sitting with yourself and really just kinda going into, like, the mind palace and figuring it out, it's more work. Like, people are like, "Oh, that's a good idea," and then they won't do it. Like, you really have to sit there and, like, not have your phone there, and don't ask ChatGPT what the ideal is. Like, just sit there with yourself for, like, 10 minutes, just your thoughts, no one else telling you what they should be. You'll be surprised, 1, how resistant you are to it, and 2, how fruitful that is if you can push through.
I think it is such a fun exercise. I've been doing it for
Yeah,
years, and I think it just makes you really self-aware and, like, understand what you actually value in
yeah.
life. So
When we do money couples, like couples and money, and
mhm.
the conversation is not allowed to be about money. Like, we're
Wow.
really just like, it turns into, what do you want your life to be? And you find out these couples that thought they were doing a money thing, it turns out it was just like, oh no, this is just couples talking about, like, what should life bring us?
Yeah.
And, at the very end, you tack on money. You're like, "Okay, how does this all fit into our money plan?" But, it's fun to watch and be like, "Oh my gosh, we never even have had these conversations." Like,
Totally.
I mean, have partners even asked themselves, like, "What kinds of schools would we want our kids to go to?" And some of them don't even ask, like, "Do we pay for school for our kids?" Like, there are couples that, like, the husband and wife literally are like, "Oh, we never talked about it." Like, that kind of thing is just, it's fascinating to see that we could all just be stuck, honestly, earning, 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 and never, like, stepping back, kind of stepping above the system and saying, like, "Well, wait a minute. How do we feel about how this whole thing is running?"
It's the spendfulness piece.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This has been an incredible conversation.
Well,
I feel like
thanks.
people are gonna take so much away from it. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can get YNAB, all of that.
So, I mean, I know they can go through you to get a special perk, so we
Yes.
make sure they have that URL. I is it
It's www.ynab.com/dreambigger for
Yes.
3 months, free,
Yeah,
which
use
is
that. And using it for 3 months is, you'll see, like, the month-to-month
it's so
connection.
good.
It's that really is key. So I'm glad that they have that deal through you. I'm not really on socials at all. They can email me old school, Jesse at ynab.com. Happy to answer questions there. But, we're like, the company's all over Instagram.
Is it YNAB as well?
Yeah, YNAB there. TikTok, all the places. YouTube's great. I just launched a YouTube show. If people are like, "I gotta have more of that guy,"
Mhm.
and it's me literally, like, 5, 6-minute long
Uh-huh.
to the camera, once a week, and if people wanna listen to a guy just kind of, like, rant about this,
Yeah.
that's where they should go. And
What's
I've
the YouTube channel?
just the Jesse Mecham Show,
Okay.
and people can just find that, and it's really, I'm trying to just give people a dose of, like, "Hey, just stay with this." It's like, let's just stay with it. It's a practice. We're never gonna stop doing it. And so they can check that out. I just launched that because people were like, "You gotta get on YouTube,"
No,
It's a
I
thing.
mean, I think this is, like, really valuable information,
Yeah.
and, like, I think just having a space where they can go and kind of, like, get
Just
this
a
kind
little
of
little bit of
exactly,
medicine. Yeah,
it's so helpful, so thank you so much for being here.
absolutely.
This has been really, really fun.
I'm glad to be here.